And welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the concurrent sessions. As we proceed here, next up, it's our second Innovation Spotlight, and it will take us into the world of ag tech with John Deere, where the focus is on increased access to data and keeping rural America connected. Please welcome Jahmy Hindman, CTO at Deere Company, and once again, Jon Fortt.
Jahmy, thank you for being with me for this conversation. And at this At Work Spotlight, we're talking a lot about smart cities and 5G. So let's talk about what happens when you get far outside of cities where a lot of Deere's customers are. How do you calculate the economic benefit of increased connectivity that's coming down the pike with technologies like 5G?
Yeah, sure. Great question, John. I'm happy to talk about it. As we think about rural connectivity in particular applied in the agricultural space, we have to recognize that the farms in these rural environments are very technologically capable. They're very technologically savvy. They're creating a significant amount of data each and every day during the growing season. And that information that they're creating is really going into helping them become more productive and more sustainable over time. It's creating the ability to have more precise decisions made during the growing season, given that agriculture is a very dynamic process in and of itself. That information is really, really critical to making great decisions in the moment when the decision needs to be made in order to minimize the amount of inputs that farmers have to put into their business and maximize their productivity on the backside. And so this idea of rural connectivity and the divide between urban and rural connectivity that exists is an important one for us. It's an important one for our farmers who are trying to manage a business that's very dependent upon that data and that connectivity and having a significant bandwidth to operate in. But it's also important in those rural communities that they happen to work in as well for reasons that far outside of the scope of agriculture.
I was talking to one of your customers earlier this year who was explaining to me how with technology, he's able to manage precision farming remotely in ways that just weren't possible a generation ago. He was able to be at the hospital with his wife while she was about to give birth and also manage what was happening on the farm, satellite technology being a part of that. How much of the investment that needs to happen for those efficiency gains to be realized is going to have to be made by the farmer? How much is Deere going to try to provide as a service?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that the infrastructure, the way we look at it is the infrastructure necessary to support the data flows between our cloud, the John Deere Operations Center where the customer's information is stored, and the machines and the farm site. That's going to come through partnerships with governments. It's going to come through partnerships with other private enterprises in order to set up the infrastructure that's necessary to make that happen.
And so when you think about both 5G and the stream of data that it's going to be possible and to a large degree is now possible to get from sensors that are across the farm landscape, what are some of the most exciting gains that both your customers might be able to get and that Deere might be able to get to make this process more efficient in the future?
Yeah, John, you mentioned one of them already. It's this ability to automatically and control the machines from a remote location, right? We're getting to a point where that's becoming a real possibility. The bandwidth that 5G enables and the latency reduction that it gives you makes that a real possibility moving forward, which is exciting. More than just the opportunity to sort of passively interact with the machine as we have in the past and do today, but more actively controlling the machine, whether that's machine settings or eventually guidance of that machine in the field.
Well, go big picture with me for a moment, if you will, because this year, all kinds of businesses have been experiencing unprecedented levels of uncertainty, in part because of this pandemic. But in a real way, Deere and its customers had been experiencing uncertainty even before that because of weather patterns, things like that. And customers had been investing in technology to be able to control the costs that they can because they don't know what's going to happen to the top line, right? So when you think about how technology mitigates against uncertainty, how more broadly would you frame that?
Yeah, the reality is the more information that a grower has down to the individual plant level. I mean, if you think about a corn or a soy operation, in the Midwestern part of the United States where you have maybe a population of 40,000 plants per acre of ground in a farm that's 2,000 acres large. We're interested in being able to manage each one of those plants individually over the course of its life to minimize the inputs that it requires and maximize its productivity. And so you can start to grow that out for yourself just in terms of the sheer magnitude of information that we're talking about utilizing and making decisions in real time based upon exactly the things you talked about, whether they're weather conditions, whether it's the amount of nutrients that crop might need at any given point in time, the weed pressure, whatever the case might be. Being able to make those decisions in real time is absolutely the key to unlocking additional economic value for the grower and productivity within the agricultural space.
Talk to me as a leader and a manager. Given all of the technological changes and possibilities that we're talking about, how are you hiring differently now than you were 5 years ago?
Yeah, a significant more index towards software skills, artificial intelligence and machine learning. We made an acquisition in 2017, Blue River Technologies. We're utilizing the skill sets in and around machine vision, machine learning, reinforcement learning to take these significant data sets that exist now in the agricultural space and utilize them to train new artificial neural network models to do things like see weeds, for example, and spray only the weeds in the crops as opposed to just spraying everything in the field. Those sorts of skill sets are in high demand, and we have a significant appetite for them and will increasingly so in the future.
How do you frame security within this context, and what are the real assets in particular that you need to protect? I mean, of course, there's your intellectual property, but I imagine down to the farm level, there are practices, there are sequences that could be secrets, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that the reality is the data that is collected is the grower's data. It's the farmer's data, and they're very interested in making sure that it's protected and secure. And we are very interested in making sure that it's protected and secure as well. We take put a significant amount of effort into securitizing that information within the cloud resources that we utilize for that, and making sure that we protect that information for the grower and that they use it in the way that they want to use it and not have it exposed past the point of their control.
Now, we are talking about the future of work, and policy is going to have quite an influence over that. We have a new administration coming in at the federal level. When it comes to agriculture and technology and these issues of data that we've been talking about, is there a critical issue or two that you would like to see on the table?
Well, I think you touched on one of them, and it's rural broadband. It's the need to really drive connectivity into rural locations within the country, and not just for agricultural purposes. There's a whole host of benefits that come to society when that happens. But in our industry in particular, in order to achieve the levels of productivity that we need to achieve in agriculture to feed a growing world, connectivity plays a significant part in that. Rural connectivity sort of thing. And so we need to elevate that conversation. We need to make meaningful progress on it moving forward. And I'm confident that the winds that are back on that, actually, I think there's a lot of appetite and interest in that, in part because of the virtual environment that we happen to be operating in now.
And finally, quickly, if you can, are you getting new recruits who are educated in the things and at the level that you need to meet these challenges?
Yeah, I think we are, and we're also taking actions, within our own organization to upskill employees that exist in the current population and the current team, and that's important to us, right? We need to make sure that we're providing opportunities for employees within the company to change their skill sets to meet the needs of what has become the modern technology set.
All right. Jahmy Hindman, the CTO at Deere Company. John Deere, a name that we all know, certainly a key player in making sure that the country and beyond stays fed. Thank you for being with us with At Work.
Thanks, John.
All right, thank you, John, and Jahmy as well.